Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Racha, Kodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Peace and blessings to the hopeful elect. In this lesson, as you can see right there, it's going to be the M.O.T.B lesson. This was something that I meditated on. When was the date that I made this? Well, it says it's updated the 26th, but really it was sometime last week that I meditated upon this and put this stuff together, because I believe in one of my last videos, it was a news and prophecy video. I said something along the lines of we have to be able to identify what it is and what the purpose of the M.O.T.B is. Reason why I said that is because certain men in Israel are just saying, are dancing around what the M.O.T.B is. So anytime you break down the M.O.T.B, or you want to know what it is, right? You're inquiring, you're curious about what it is. You have to be able to identify it. Now, certain men, or throughout the time, certain men have said it's white women. They've said it's Christianity. They have said it's sin. So this is what prompted me to say you have to be able to identify what it is, so that way when you see it in the world, you'll be like, okay, that's what the M.O.T.B is. Don't take that, right? Because obviously, and I'm going to get it in Revelation, the 13th chapter and the 16th verse, going down to the end, John the Revelator saw something. He saw people taking something. He didn't see people taking Christianity. He didn't see people taking sin. He didn't see people taking white women into their right hand or in their foreheads. He saw people taking a device in their right hands or in their foreheads, or pursuing to Revelation 14. It doesn't matter if you take it wherever in your body, so long as you receive it. But the primary spots that they want to put it would be in the right hand or in the forehead. I forgot the excuse me, god damn it, the specifics behind the right hand, but there is a reason why they want to put in the right hand. So as you can see right here, it says the M.O.T.B lesson, and it says identifying the M.O.T.B and its purpose/intention, right? Because it's not just what it is, it's, well, what does this thing supposed to do? How is this, gonna, as you can see the last bullet point there, how will it affect or control your life? So we're gonna go into the first bullet point. We're gonna deal with that, where it says, what is it? Is it physical or spiritual? Because again, some men have said, oh, the M.O.T.B is a spiritual thing. So we're gonna go into Revelation 13 and verse 16, and we're going to see what John the Revelator saw. We're going to go into Greek words and things like that to break it down, right? So that way you get an understanding of what it is. There's nothing wrong with going into the Greek and reading these words to get an understanding, because doing that gives you a better understanding of what it is to look out for, what it is, so that way you know what it is. Apologies for saying that like that, but the going into the Greek helps you to understand better, right? Because again, going back to the point, certain men have said that, oh, it's spiritual, it's Christianity or something like that, or sin. So we're going to go into it and we're going to see exactly what John the Revelator. So we're going to see if the Greek words back up it being a spiritual thing, right? So let's deal with that. And I also have a video just to back up, just to give an illustration so you can see what I'm talking about as well. So I have that saved up on YouTube. Excuse me. So this is the point. This is Revelation chapter 13 and verse 16. Gonna go right to it. It says, and he calls it all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond. Right? So who is the he? The he are the elites, right? It's not just one man. It's a collective group of individuals, the top elite banking families, right? Those are the ones that rule the world, right? The earth has been given into the hand of the wicked. It's them, right? So even though it says he, it's really a collective group of individuals. So it says, and he calls it all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond. So that's very self-explanatory, that meaning that they want everybody to pretty much take this. If you're poor, you're going to take it. If you're rich, you're going to take it. If you're a regular individual, you're going to take it. If you're stuck in jail, you're going to take it. That's what it means by all, right? And matter of fact, I want to be thorough with this. So actually, let's go into some of these Greek words here, right? Cause it is the first one. And as you can see there, a definition, it says with the names of things made to produce, construct, form, fashion, right? It says B, to be the authors of the cause. C, to make ready, prepare. So they're going to push society or do things in society that nudge you. I like to say nudge, right? Because if you want to make someone do something, you got to nudge them in a certain direction so that way you can get them to do what you want them to do, right? That's how deceiving works, or tricking somebody. You got to push them in a direction that you want them to go, or see something that you want them to see. So they're going to be the authors, or they're going to cause certain things uh, and make certain things happen in society to where you are forced to take this thing. Given an example is with the uh, Lord's willing, you understand what I'm saying. But the C, the C, the one to the nine, the C one to the nine, that thing, right? That was like a prelude or a show of how they want everyone to take it. They pretty much, if you didn't get that thing, you can, at certain places, you couldn't get a job and things like that. You had to get fired, right? And it showed you how when that thing came out and they came up with their solution, how they were pushing it pretty hard. And if you didn't take it, you couldn't work at certain places. You couldn't eat at certain places. They wasn't allowing you to go in certain places, right? So that was to show you how they are making things happen to society to where they want to push the people in a certain direction that they want to go. So when that, I wish I could say the words, but I'm not going to for the sake of keeping the video up. But when the C first came out and they came up with their solution, I believe about a year, maybe less than a year after, you see how hard that they were pushing for, hey, you have to get this, you have to get this, especially as they say, they call us the black and brown communities. They especially want to push it very heavily upon us Israelites, you so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native American Indians, or as they say it, they kept saying, we have to get this to the black and brown communities, right? They're the ones that are most easily affected by this thing, right? Anytime any disease comes out, we're the ones that are so easily affected by it. But everybody else, any disease that comes out, so-called black people are just easily affected by it. But everybody else, it seems like diseases just seem to leave everybody else. We don't want to really harm white people. We don't really want to harm Asians. Now we'll attack black people really hard. Yeah. Make that make sense, right? A disease is racist, I guess, right? Well, maybe not racist is the word, but it's choosy, right? I'll choose niggas. Let me go after them. But basically that would be the point on poeo. Basically, it's to form, construct, basically push someone in the direction that you want to go, that you want them to go, right? You're orchestrating things to get a certain outcome from a person. Now the next word is pas, which is all, right? Now it says individually and collectively, right? Also says each, every, any, all, whole, everyone, all things, everything, right? So they're going to slowly work on this because it's the same thing with anything, right? If you watch like marketing, how people sell things to people, what do they do? They use individuals, they use celebrities, people with people who are favorites in the society, for lack of a better term, right? Just using the example again of celebrities, right? So they will use certain individuals, right, to get the collective, right? The collective or the collectively is all, right? But the individuals is the certain few people. So they will use celebrities, people in high positions to market this as a good thing, right? Using some of the mayors when they were pushing out that you should go and get the V. What were they using? They were using certain tactics, certain marketing tactics of, oh, if you go get the thing, you will be able to get a free donut, or you'll be able to get a free food, or a free burger and fries. They were using incentives, little gifts to basically incentivize you to do things. And they'd use what? Certain individuals, certain celebrities, certain government officials, right? To collectively get everyone to do what they want them to do, right? So when you go into that word pas, meaning all, it starts off with individuals, but they want to get everybody. Because, right, because you don't just come out of the gate and get everybody, right? You have to slowly, you have to work with the individuals who will help you get the collective whole. So reading it from the top again, it says, and he calls it all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark, I'm going to say that, in their right hand or in their foreheads, right? So when you go into that word mark, I'm going to explain it, and then I'm going to bring out the video just to give an illustration so you can see as well. Because I believe, at least for me, when learning, seeing things in illustrations help out. It may sound childish, but it helps. So you get an idea, right? So when you go into that word charagma, right? Again, like I said a little earlier, how these Greek words help us to understand what John the Revelator is saying or what he saw in his vision. Because you have to remember, this is a vision that he saw, right? If I'm not mistaken, right? Going back to it, he says, he calls it all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive. So John is seeing people receive or take something in their right hand or in their foreheads. So again, this is something visual that John is seeing. So we have to get an idea. We have to also visualize for ourselves, what is John seeing, right? And these words help us to understand what he's seeing. So the Greek word for mark is charagma, right? Which says a stamp, imprinted mark, thin carved sculpture, graven work, right? Also the mark branded upon horses. If you ever see when people would mark their cattle, they'll have that iron prong. They'll put it in the heat for a little bit, and it'll have like its badge on it or whatever. They'll sizzle it on the rear of the horse or the cattle or whatever. You know, the cattle will buck up a little bit, and make it sound or whatever, and it'll leave a little mark upon the cattle. So it's what? So you see that mark or that badge there, knowing that okay, this cattle belongs to such and such owner, Johnson. Let's just say when they steam it on the cattle or whatever, right? It has a J on it, so it's like, oh, okay, this is the property of Mr. Johnson. So if this cattle goes missing, we know that this is Mr. Johnson's cattle, or this is Mr. Johnson's horse, right? So, but when you go into charagma, basically it means an etching, right, or a cutting, right? So it basically means cutting into the flesh, right? And when you go into the root word of charagma, it is charax, which charax is pale stake or palisade, right? Which is basically the sharp instrument. Because if you're going to cut into something, you don't cut into something with nothing, or you're not going to cut into a tree or something with your finger. Your finger is not strong or sharp enough to do so. So you're going to use a sharp instrument to cut into the flesh, right? Because remember, John said what? In the right hand or in the forehead. So what in modern terms, because remember, this is a future prophecy that John saw. If I'm not mistaken, John was on the island of Patmos 90 AD, 93 AD, sometime around there. So John saw the end. John saw, the last days of where people were taking this thing, right? So this is a future prophecy. This would be in our time now, modern times, right? So what would be the modern day Karax? Because it says there a pale stake or palisade, and when you look into that, that's like those things where those fences, right? Because the fence will have its like matter of fact, let me just pull it up so again you can see an illustration. There we go. There we go. Perfect. So you see that when it comes to fencing, right? And you see the sharp point, right? It looks pretty much like what? A syringe, right? Right? The tube of the syringe and the sharp edge. So again, what would be the modern day Karax, right? Because again, remember, this is not dealing with fencing or housing. This is dealing with something being put in your body, something medical, right? Surgical. So if this is something surgical and medical going inside your body, what is the modern day tool to where they use to put things in your body, it would be a syringe, a needle. And what does the needle do? The needle cuts into the flesh, right? So you have we have our two words, right? We have charagma and charax. Charax is what? Charax is cutting into the flesh. Charagma, I'm sorry, I said that incorrectly, Slovakia. Charagma is cutting into the flesh. Charax is the sharp instrument that is used to cut into the flesh. I apologize if I said that incorrectly, right? So before I go to the last word, I want to give an illustration of what we're going to see. And this is from YouTube. It says, "The day I got MC'd," and gonna play the video so that way you can see what it is. I apologize, I don't have my paper or anything like that, but for copyright issues, I am not using this video in no way to make any profit. I am not using this I make no gains, no anything. This is just for educational purposes, and that's all. I make no profit from playing this video on my channel, nor am I seeking to make any profit or steal anything. I'm just using this for educational purposes. That's all. Right, so I'm going to play this video so you also see an illustration of what John the Revelator saw, so it makes sense. Again, the two Greek words, right? What is it? You have charagma, and then the next Greek word was charax. Charagma is cutting into the flesh. Charax is what? The sharp instrument or the sharp object that is used to cut into the flesh or to perform charagma, right? Because charagma is an action. So let's play this video.
All right, get everything opened up here, and then we'll start the procedure.
And for the record, in terms of a pain scale, if you can compare it to something.
Probably more like a bee sting.
The latest office innovation is a microchip implanted in the skin.
This is the first American company to ever try this.
So what are they tracking, and would you say yes if your boss asked you to do the same?
So if my employer wanted to microchip me as if I was their puppy, I would have a huge problem with it, and I would probably quit.
You could argue that the government is tracking you everywhere you go, but they are already with your phones.
Yeah, it just seems a bit permanent. If you already have an Apple Watch you're wearing around, at least you can take that off at some point. Not something I would do.
I think it's a great idea, and I think it would make it all a lot easier. I just think that you have to back it up with maybe some doctors saying it's good for your health, and then I think I would do it.
3 Square Market is a company working on one of the biotech advances at the forefront, implantable RFID or radio frequency ID microchips. The tech has been around for decades, used to track pets, packages, and livestock, but now the Wisconsin-based company is trying to make the implants mainstream.
Now, mind you, he said that it was used to track pets, certain products, but later in the video, you'll also hear him say that, oh, don't worry, it doesn't track people. So this thing that has always been used, or this technology that's always been used to track pets, products, but now it's not going to track individuals. Okay, you got to think. Got to remember, these people are liars. They're going to lie to you. Just because they say, oh, don't worry, it's not going to track you. This technology has always been used or is known for tracking. And now all of a sudden they're not going to use it to track.
Even with all the risks and unknowns associated with this technology, I was really curious what it'd be like to have an implant. So I traveled to Wisconsin to get chipped, thinking, what's the worst that could happen? The chip is coming out at the end of the day. And the RFID chip is already inside there.
Yes.
And it's a little bit larger than a grain of rice.
Correct.
Jasmine rice, I think.
Basmati.
That's Andy Whitehead, better known as Gonzo. He's a local body piercer with 17 years of experience who was brought in to implant the microchips. I was slightly nervous about having the microchip inserted inside my body, given the size of the needle, and also nervous.
Now, going back to the scriptures, remember, again, this is something that John the Revelator saw, because he saw what people getting in the right hand or in the forehead. Now, I believe this individual gets it in his left hand. I mean, we'll see. So just in case individuals say, oh, well, he got in his left hand, well, that's not what John saw. Well, again, going to Revelation 14, it doesn't matter where you get it in your body. Now, again, there's a specific reason why they want it in the right hand. I forgot what that reason is, but it doesn't matter where you get in the body so long as you receive it. But just to give you a visualization, This is what John the Revelator saw. Not this exactly, but when it becomes, mainstream and things like that, and eventually mandatory, that's what John the Revelator really saw. This is just to give an example.
It's about what it could potentially mean for me, but here we go.
Watch, take a nice big,
So
big,
boom, right before he pushes it in, what do you see? You see what? It's his hand, right? Now it's not his right hand, but still his hand nonetheless. And what you see? What is you see the Karax, this sharp instrument, right? Because even when you look at the needle, right, it looks just like that. The opening of the needle, and then the like, I guess you could say the tube of the needle, right? Right. Okay. Perfect. And then what? You see him about to perform charagma, which is what? Etching or cutting into the flesh. He's gonna pierce his hand, right?
Watch, take a nice big deep breath in and exhale, release.
Boom.
There we go.
It's in there.
It's in there.
And then
Pretty quick
I even see when he pushed the okay, I guess it just shot in there, I guess. But that is what John the Revelator saw. He saw in the future individuals doing this, right? That would be receiving something in their right hand or in their forehead. Now, again, this man is in his left hand, but still, again, it doesn't matter. So long as you receive that inside of your body, it doesn't matter. So just to give an illustration of what John the Revelator saw, as you can see, it is a physical thing, right? He's using physical, or the way he describes it, what? Charagma, Karax. What is a Karax? Karax, a sharp instrument. Now, what do you do with a sharp instrument? Don't you, when it said pale or palisade, right, which is going into like fencing. When you stick those things into the ground, you're doing something, right? Just to show you that it's a physical thing. It is not a, Salakia. Salakia about that. I hope you can still hear me. I use headphones because it just helps out with the, keeping other sound out. But going back to my point with the two words that John the Revelator uses, charagma and karax, basically both of them are used for what? An action. You're doing something. So this cannot be something spiritual. This has to be something physical. Because again, charagma, right, which is basically an etching or cutting into the flesh. If you're going to cut into the flesh, that means you're doing something. You're doing an action, a verb, right? So, right, it says a stamp, an imprinted mark. If you're imprinting something on somebody, that means you're doing something. You're pressing a mark on somebody's body. Again, like I gave the example with the cattle, they use the how they brand certain cattle and things like that. And let's say it's Mr. Johnson, it'll have the brand or whatever on the iron thing. It'll have a J. They'll push it against the cattle's rear. It'll sizzle on his body, and then it'll leave that mark J, so you know what? That this is the property of Mr. Johnson. This is Mr. Johnson's cattle, right? So the first word, charagma, shows you that what? It's an action, a verb. It's doing something. Karax also is also a verb as well, because what? Karax goes into a pale or a palisade, right? Now, when we looked up a pale or palisade picture, it went into fencing. And when you go into fencing, what? You're pushing those stakes into the ground, right? To fence around whatever it is you're fencing. Let's just say your home. So that even shows you also too that is a verb. It's an action. You're doing something. All right, let me see something. Right, it says pales between which the earth, stones, trees, and timbers are heaped and packed together. So again, you're doing something. So this is not something spiritual. Oh, the M.O.T.B is something spiritual. It's white women or it's sin. No, this is a physical thing, because again, what did John say? He said, I saw people receiving, well, not I, but he saw people receiving it in their right hand or in their forehand. Imagine if I give you money, right? Hey, yo, here, hold this down. Here's $20. There's an exchange from my hand to your hand. I'm putting money from my hand into your hand, and you're receiving that. You're taking that. It's not something spiritual. Hey, here, take this invisible $20, brother. No, it's an actual, I'm giving you $20. It's an exchange from my hand to your hand. Here, it's going from me to you. an action. You're doing something. If you're going to receive something, that means you're doing something to receive something. It's not something spiritual. So that would be it, at least for. Oh, actually, no. There's a little bit more. Actually, Salakia. Now, when you go into the root word of Karax, the root word of Karax will be grapho, which it says to commit to writing things not to be forgotten, write down record, right? So basically, this small device is going to have your information on it, to where that way you won't you won't forget anything. It's going to have your whatever. It's going to have your the same identification that you use today, except it's going to be on that small device. Your ID, your social security number, your bank records, all that is going to be on that small device, right? And going back to the video, they even explained that, right? So let's go back to the video.
It's in there.
It's in there. Pretty quick and easy.
I feel like a cyborg.
Here you go, you're a proud member now.
Indeed. Part of the club. Just like that, I was part of a small group of people on Earth pushing the boundaries of what it means to be human. And within minutes, I was meeting with their tech team to get my chip programmed. I guess what you're saying, to sort of put it in layman's terms, if I wouldn't need to take this out until we live in that futuristic world where everything's wireless, cash is gone, autonomous vehicles take us everywhere, and I'm just beeping my way through my day.
Really, probably you'd never have to take it out, and this is what we think is going to propel us into that next stage in life, the cashless society like they're doing overseas already. This would facilitate that because you wouldn't need to carry any cards or cash. Everything would literally be stored on the chip.
There is no
See, and that's what John the Revelator saw, that this small device that is the size of a grain of rice, this device, this physical device, as you saw, what a physical device was put inside of his body, inside of his hand, right, is going to store and hold all your information. The things that you use to function in society, that small little device, that subdermal device, is going to have all of that in that.
PS tracker in the chip, which was really good to know. And the applications for it were actually pretty sweet. I could now open doors, fire off texts, forget all of my passwords, and even make credit card payments. I started to wonder,
See, how could he make credit card payments if his information is not stored? His records are not on that small device. See? So now that's why I want to use this video illustration, so it helps paint a picture of what John the Revelator is talking about.
Getting this thing removed?
And what I'll do is I'll set yours up so that I can make a phone call off of it right now.
Success. Stuck in this internal debate about whether to keep the chip, I thought I'd talk to some employees to get their take. One who has the chip and another who opted out.
You know, I wasn't opposed to it.
No, this guy got on his right hand because he showed his right hand. But that would be it for this part, right? Or at least for that video. So continuing on in verse 17, right? Because this is the future that they're making. So let's read 16 again. Revelation chapter 13, verse 16. And he causes all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads. Just went through, Lord's willing, thoroughly that what that's talking about, right? Again, he is the elites. It's not just one individual. Cause it, meaning basically they're going to cause things in society to pretty much push the people in the direction that they want them to go. To receive this device, right? Pas, which is the Greek word for all, meaning that what they're going to use certain individuals to get the collective group to take this M.O.T.B. And going into the word mark, which the first Greek word there was charagma, which is basically a cutting into the flesh. And then you have the root word of that, which is karax, which is basically a pale, a stake, a sharp object, right? Something that looks like a needle when you look at it, right? Which is the modern day karax would be the syringe. And using the video just to give you an illustration, you saw what? The man, when he put the syringe to his hand, what? You saw the sharp object, the karax, and then what it did, it performed charagma, which is basically cutting into the flesh. And then it left that small device in his hand, and then now grapho, which is what? that small device has his information there, to where he was showing you, and he was saying that what he can open doors now. He has access to certain things. He can make phone calls with his with the device, and he could also make payments with it. Right. So that goes into the writing, the things not to be forgotten. Right. These your information that helps you to your information that helps you to I don't know why the word has escaped me, but helps you to function. That would be it. Function in society, right? If you want to go get a job or something like that, they're going to ask for some type of identification, right? Or if anything you want to pay for something, they need what, your credit card, maybe your state ID or your driver's license. You may, certain situations, you might need your social security. All these things help identify you, or these things help you function in society. But instead, it's no longer going to be these physical things, these physical cards. No, it's going, that information is going to be on, it's going to be digital on that device. All right. So verse 17, it says, and that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark. Right. So in the future, you're not going to be able to function in society without this device, without this small device inside of your body. Right. And when you go into the word, why am I having a brain fart here? Buy, if I'm not mistaken. Yep, there we go. When you go into the root word of buy, it's agorazo, or when you go into the root word of it, agora, which is basically the marketplace, right? So you're not going to be able to function or do anything in society without this thing, as it was illustrated in the video, that what he was able to open doors, right, with that thing, right? They had the little readers and things like that, to where it's like, which actually, now that I think about that, I see that in a lot in my jobs, where you need a key card and things like that to access certain places. You can't just open doors and go somewhere. So it shows you how they're pushing society through technology to in this direction, everything being digital, everything being what? You're going to need some type of identification if you're going to go and do anything, right? It's not just no longer just opening a door or someone taking you somewhere. No. You have to be authorized in order to go or to do something, right? So again, going back to verse 17, it says, and that no man might buy or sell, right? Or when you go into that word buy, it's agorazo, or the agora, which is what? The marketplace, to where you transactions is taking place. And it says, save he that had the mark, which another word for save would be unless. So, and that no man might buy or sell unless he had the mark. So unless you have this small device, you're not going to be able to function in society, because that is going to be the new way of doing things. That's going to be the new way of how they want to, how society is going to function. Unless you have that small device in your hand, you're not going to be able to buy anything, and nobody's going to be able to sell anything to you. So try and fit in Christianity, or try and fit in white women, or try to fit in sin with that. It doesn't make any sense. If you're going to perform a transaction, you need something physical, right, to perform a transaction. Again, let's just use money for today, right? Or even with your credit card, what do? You give your credit card, they put it against the reader, it makes the sound ding, and it reads your card, and it takes money away. You have just done something physical. You've just, put your card in place of the reader, or you've given your card or swiped your card, right? And it took money off your card, and you was able to buy something, and they was able to sell it to you. You can't do that with Christianity. You can't do that with sin. You cannot do that with white women. None of these things. Now, I don't think people are saying any more white women, but just to give the example, or just to give the examples of what men have been saying throughout the years. None of those things make sense. What makes sense is what, when you go into the Greek words, that is something physical. That is a physical device. So now we've dealt with the first bullet point, and pretty much the last two, you could pretty much put them together. But No, I'll keep going. I was thinking maybe I just instead of overloading it, but I'll keep going. So now I'm gonna probably deal with these last 2 points maybe together. I'll see how it goes. But dealing with the first bullet point, what is it? Lord's willing, that has been edifying, and it was informative that what it is a physical thing. It is not a spiritual thing. It's a physical device. Going into the video, using the video also for illustration, showing that what is a physical thing that's going to go inside your body. Karaks, karagma is all physical actions. It's not a spiritual thing. Now, going into the second bullet point, which maybe even the third will also play into that as well, which is what do the elites plan to use it for, or how will it, or also how will it affect / control your life? And what the elites plan to use it for is pretty much to control your life, have complete control over everything that you do. Which let me see if I can find that precept. Pretty much what the M.O.T.B is a digital all. Here we go. I'll start verse 5, right? So this is something that was in the law. This was a custom back in the ancient world that you would, I'll read it. This is Exodus chapter 21, verse 5. It says, "And if the servant shall plainly say, I love my master, I love my master, my wife, and my children, I will not go out free." Right? So this is going into, right, like it says, the ordinances for the people. Matter of fact, I'll start from the first verse instead, just to build up to it. So, Salakia, let me start from the first verse. It says, "Now these are the judgments which thou shalt set before them. If thou buy an Hebrew servant, 6 years shall he serve, and in the 7th he shall go out free for nothing." Right? So you're going to work for 6 years, and then on the 7th year, you're free. It says, "If he came in by himself," meaning that you just got him, "he shall go out by himself. If he were married, then his wife shall go out with him." So if the man came in by himself with nothing, he's going to leave with nothing. All right. After that, in that 7th year, he's going to be released. If he came in with the wife, he's going to leave also with his wife, right? Because he came in with his property, because your woman is your property. Verse 4, it says, "If his master had given him a wife, and she have borne him sons or daughters, the wife and her children shall be her master's, and he shall go out by himself." So if he came in by himself with nothing, and his master gave him a wife, and he, that woman became his, and he got children from it, that's still the master, because they belong to the master's property. In that 7th year, when he's supposed to let go, he's going to be let go, but he doesn't take the wife or the kids with him, because really they're the masters. It says, "And he shall go out by himself." So this is starting from verse 5. Now, it says, "And if the servant shall plainly say, I love my master, my wife, and my children, I will not go out free," meaning that, look, I like serving this dude. I don't want to lose my wife and kids, right? I want to stay. It says, verse 6, Then shall his master bring him unto the judges. He shall also bring him to the door and unto the doorposts, and his master shall bore his ear through with an awl, and he shall serve him forever." And that's pretty much what the M.O.T.B is pretty much a digital awl, where you taking that and receiving that, you're pretty much saying that, hey, I like being under the rule of Esau Edom. I like the way they do things. I like my life. I want to save my life. So therefore, please pretty much bore my skin through with a syringe and put this within my body, and look, you can have control or say so with whatever in my life. I'm too scared of you guys. You guys brought down the hammer. You guys brought down the heat. I don't want nothing to happen to my wife and kids. I don't want them to starve and things like that. Just give me this thing so that way I can feed my family. That's essentially what people are going to be saying in this time, right? Back then, men said the what? I love my wife. I love my master, and things like that. I don't want to go. I don't want to leave you. So essentially, that's what people are going to sit there and say, but they're going to say it through fear, right? As is written in Revelation 12:12, the devil shall come down with great wrath, knowing that he had but a short time. So Esau is going to come down with that great wrath, and he's going to use that wrath to pretty much give people more incentive to take it, right? And also famines and things like that are also going to push people to take it. You don't want to see your wife or your kids starve, right? So it's going to be like, look, I can't watch my kids die. I can't watch my woman suffer and things like that, and I'm also hungry. To hell with that. I'm taking that small device. I don't care. And that's what's going to incentivize people to do that. The same as with here, this man said, I love my wife and kids. I love my master. I ain't leaving. And his ear was bored through with an awl. Right? And it says what? He shall serve him forever, which is pretty much what that that M.O.T.B is going to be, or that digital awl is going to be, right? Because pretty much that's what the M.O.T.B is. It's a digital awl. Which, I mean, not digital, well, it's a physical thing that's inside your body, but the way that they're going to control you is through the digital world, basically meaning that what? You're not going to be able to function in society without this device, meaning that what? They're going to have control over you. That, hey, if you want to function in society, right, because I have now made society a certain way to my liking, and if you want to play ball, you're going to have to take this device. Right? If you don't want to see your wife hungry and things like that, you don't want to see your kids starve out, you're going to have to take this small device that in order to play ball, in order to function in my world. And certain people will take that, and we pray for the spirit not to take that, but to endure unto the end, to deny that thing, to deny that small device, that what? Certain people are going to fold and take it, and what? That is going to be how the elites, what was the first one, Slakia? What they plan to use it for, which is to have control over all aspects of your life, right? Because now with this device, if you speak out against the government or anything like that, they can shut off your device, right? If you're an enemy of the state or something like that, and you have that device in you, or if they deem you an enemy of the state, they can now, maybe it has something inside of it where it can just kill you or something like that, and it kills you from the inside of your body. This is how they have complete control over you, right? Pretty much being like God over you. And that's what they plan to use it for, to have complete control over the people, right? And this is where, like I was saying, what do the elites plan to use it for, and how will it affect / control your life? You could pretty much put those two together. I put them separately, but you could pretty much put them together, because their plans is to control and affect your life through this small device. And I'm going to explain that via this video here that I saw off of, there we go. Salakia about the ads. Now, this is happened 4 years ago. This is NBC News. Again, these videos that you see here, and I'm not using this to make a profit or anything. This is all for educational purposes. It says, a look inside China's social credit system, right? This is from NBC News. So this is just an example, just to give you an example of how maybe a system set up here in America is going to be, to how they can have control all aspects of your life. Because again, in the times to come, how people have, matter of fact, I'll let the video play and then I'll explain it, because I don't want to get ahead of myself. So again, these 2 points here, you can pretty much put them together. What do the elites plan to use it for, and how will it affect or / control your life, right? Now let's take a look at China's social credit system, because even what's this dude's name? Klaus Schwab praised China for its system, right?
So, picture your life in a place where everything you do, what you buy, how you behave, is tracked. The government gives you a score, and the score is a measure of how trustworthy you are as a citizen, and determines what you're allowed to do, like ever. Boarding a train, getting a mortgage, all goes back to this score. It's called social credit. It sounds like that show Black Mirror, but It's actually happening in China. So how does that change you? Does it change you? What does your life look like when your every move is watched?
See, just like I made in the questions, how will this affect your life? What is this going to mean for you, right? So, and she mentioned that Black Mirror episode, which I think that Black Mirror is about that chick that wanted to buy a house, but in order to do that, you had to be a part of social media, and people had to like you and things like that, and give you a high enough like. And if you had a high enough liking in that, I think it was like 5 tiers. 1 is bad to 5 is great. And if you, I think she needed like a 4-star or something. I think she was like 3 stars, but she needed like 4 stars to be in that tier in order to buy the new home. And she had to go on some adventure or something like that. I don't want to get too much into that, but maybe that could be a lesson for another video. But basically, yeah, like the woman was saying, how will this affect your life? How is this social scoring basically where the government has complete control over you? And that's pretty much what the elites want. They want complete control over you, to where it's like, if you speak out against them, you say anything like that, you're going to have a lower score. But if you're a good citizen, you're going to have a higher score. Or we'll see how they implement things here, because again, they may not do the same thing over here in America as they would in China, but they may have a certain tier system or something like that to separate people, right? I'm getting a little ahead of myself. I'm explaining the video before the video even explains itself, but, you know.
The system's eyes are in big data, artificial intelligence, and roughly 200 million surveillance cameras. And that's totally fine with Oh-Young Hao-yu. She's 21, graduated from a good school with solid grades. She's diligent. She's nice. No surprise, she's a 752. That's her rating with Sesame Credit, a private company working with the government on the algorithms for the social credit system. The scores go from 350 to 950 and are based on habits and behavior. Buy clothes or
So 350 to 950. So 350 would be on the low scale, 950 would be on the high scale. So she's pretty much up there. I think it said she was 753, so she's like about 200 points off. Right.
It's good. A lot of alcohol, too many video games. Not so good.
So again, Salakia for pausing so much, but so again, you also see the what with the artificial intelligence technology, which is also something that's being talked about in these days, with artificial intelligence technology being used to monitor, track people and things like that. Technology or AI being used to take over where you would use people for these jobs. They're using AI instead, because AI is pretty much a robot. It doesn't sleep. It doesn't get tired. It can do the job 24/7, right? And also, you don't have to pay it.
Hao-Yu's 752 puts her in model citizen range and gets her discounts and privileges, like using a shared bike without a deposit. She likes it. Her friends do too. They all have pretty high scores.
Is a mechanism like pushes.
So, Salakia again for pausing it, but have to explain that. So basically, it's going to explain in the video, but basically she is what the government would consider in their eyes, right? Because she follows society. She follows the Chinese society. She does what they deem is right. So she has a high credit score. So basically she has certain perks. She can do things that other people can't do, right? She had a 752. And I believe the limit was 950. So because she is a functioning member of society, because she does what she's supposed to do in society, right, she gets access to do things that other people can't do. Matter of fact, let me bring that back.
To become
like of alcohol, too many video games. Not so good. Hao-Yu's 752 puts her in model citizen range and gets her discounts and privileges, like.
See? Carl, because she's functions in society, she's a model citizen according to what the Chinese government wants. She gets discounts, she gets benefits, she's able to function in society and do things that the person who's on the lower scale, who doesn't do what the government wants, is she's able to do things that they can't, right? And that's pretty much what's going to happen even here in America. Now we'll see what type of tier or however they set it up with the M.O.T.B, but it could have a similar thing to that. Remember, like I said, Klaus Schwab, he liked how China had this social credit system. And you know, that man is in charge of the WEF and all that. So basically, we'll see how this tier system or something like that, they'll make it here in America, how they'll separate basically those who are doing good in society and those who don't. You know, enemies of the state versus people who are, for lack of a better word, friends of the state. People who are doing whatever Esau Edom wants them to do. They're not speaking out against the government. They don't have a problem with the government and things like that, as opposed to those like who are like us that, you know, now obviously, again, we pray for the spirit not to take that, but we're not going to function in society here because we speak out against this society. So we'd be on the low scale of this. If we were living in China, we wouldn't be able to do nothing.
Using a shared bike without a deposit. She likes it. Her friends do too. They all have pretty high scores.
It's a mechanism like pushes you to become a better citizen, to build on the trust, especially on the Chinese market.
Because you're not going to be punished if you haven't done anything wrong.
I think that's the point. I think the system is working as a warning or a alert to push people to do it, to be a good person.
And it's mandatory. When it goes national, social credit scores will be assigned to every one of China's citizens for life. And what's weird is that so many people seem okay with it. It's complicated, but China went from extreme poverty to economic giant pretty quickly. A credit history system didn't grow at the same pace, so people would default on loans and get away with it. Add in scandals around fake food, tainted baby milk, counterfeit goods, and what you've got is a big problem with trust.
So, see right there, and that's something similar to what you have here in America as well, which is what? People don't trust the government. Right? People already knowing because the information is out there that you can't trust the government has an agenda. The people know that the food that they eat is not real. People know that the food that they eat is contaminated. So people know that they can't trust the government. People know that they can't trust the government officials. And what you have here also in America is also a lack of trust. So China set up the system to us, like seeing as how we have all this stuff coming out about bad food, bad this and that, we'll create a social credit system to where it's like, okay, we're going to affect your life. Basically, you have to do what we want you to do. You can't speak out against us. You can't do this or that. And if you be a model citizen in our eyes, if you be that citizen that shuts up, don't say anything against us, you'll have a high social score and you'll be able to get perks and benefits in society. You'll be able to function in society. But if you don't, and if you have a problem with us and you keep speaking out against us, you'll have a low credit score and you won't be able to do anything in society and you'll struggle. Right?
So,
let me bring
in
that back.
2014, and get away with it. Add in scandals around fake food, tainted history system didn't grow at the same pace, so people would default on loans and get away with it. Add in scandals around fake food, tainted baby milk, counterfeit goods, and what you've got is a big problem with trust. So, in 2014, the Communist Party called for a system to allow the trustworthy to roam everywhere under heaven while making it hard for the discredited to take a single step.
See, so those who don't trust, it's like, okay, we're going to make your life difficult. And that's essentially what it is. It's pretty much control. They were losing control. They were losing trust of the people, or control of the people, really. So it's like, okay, we're going to create a system to where we can have back control of the people. Those who are weak-minded and those who just want an easy life, okay, if you don't do what we say, you're not going to be able to function in society. You're not going to be able to get your little benefits, your little perks, or how little nice things that you had, your little treats. So those people shut up easily because they don't want to live in adversity. They don't want to live in difficulty, right? But for those who do want to be stubborn, it's like, well, okay, you'll stay at the bottom of the totem pole. And that's pretty much the same system to a degree, which is going to come here in America with the M.O.T.B. Those who don't want to take the device, it's going to be difficult to get food, or they're going to, like it says in verse 15 of Revelation 13 chapter, basically that you should be killed. Now, killed is twofold, meaning they're actually obviously killing you, but also separating you from society. You're not going to be able to function in society without that M.O.T.B, right? What people would deem, or the government would deem, you to be stubborn. Here it is, we have a new system, this is how things are going to go, but you're being over here stubborn, not wanting to take this because you don't trust the government and things like that. So, okay, we'll either kill you, which is actually putting you to death, killing you, or you'll just be, as the other definition for the word killed, separated from society to where you're not able to function here. This is how this M.O.T.B is going to affect your life, or control your life, or really, affect / control your life. It's going to control the lives of those other people where, hey, now that you have that thing inside of you, you can't take it out. And now if you do try to take it out, if you try to speak against the government or anything like that, hey, they could shut off your system to it's like, oh, okay, well, no food for you, no this, no that. That is how they're going to control your life. And for those who don't take it, this is how it's going to affect your life, where you're not going to be able to partake in society, or you're not going to have access to food and things like that. It's not going to be made easy. This is why we need Yahweh Bashim Al Shai, and that's why it says in Revelation chapter 3, verse 10, I'll get that. We're going to need the Lord to protect us and feed us in that time. This is Revelation chapter 3, verse 10. It says, because thou hast kept the word of my patience, right, which is this truth, I will also keep thee from the hour of temptation, which shall come upon all the world to try them that dwell upon the earth. And I believe that word world there is oikomeni, which is talking about the whole habitable world, right? So this is going to come upon the whole world to try everybody, because this is going to be a global temptation.
Hard for the discredited to take a single step. The model is a place called Rongcheng. It's in Shandong province. It's orderly. Streets are spotless. Cars slow down, which is unheard of in China. Words like honesty and credibility appear on propaganda posters. Display cases show pictures of Rongcheng's most honored citizens. You start with 1,000 points, and you can print out your report anytime. You lose points for things like jaywalking, littering, tossing cigarette butts, or spreading rumors. Cameras do a lot of this.
And those rumors also could be speaking out against the government. You're spreading rumors about, well, I heard this about them. Oh, well, deducting points. And the more you do it, to the point where you're low, and you don't get this. Like, oh my God, fine, I won't say nothing. So it pretty much zips your mouth.
Surveillance work, but it's pretty analog too, like posters that list the ways you can gain or lose points. And each night, local TV shows the surveillance highlights of the day. And then there's Joanne. She's an information collector, a paid enforcer who walks around and writes down deeds about her neighbors. Like the man who carried a drunk person home. Things like this are good deeds, she said. But the farmer overheard swearing and being rude, yeah, bad deeds. Her quota is 10 a month. She likes the work, thinks the city's better for it. The thing about the social credit system is that there isn't one single system, not yet. Different places have different rules. So what do you do if you have bad social credit? Well, for one, you talk about it on Weibo, which is like Twitter. There are forums for discredited people to vent and get advice.
Our tip Vienna trip every...
In Chongqing, we hooked up with Huang Huijun. He had a business until he was sued by a client, and Huang refused to pay 90 grand to settle it. So the court put him on a social credit blacklist, and things got way worse. He explains that being blacklisted means he can't buy airplane or train tickets. When he tries, a message pops up saying he's discredited. By the end of last year, blacklisted people were blocked from booking 23 million flights and 5 million high-speed train trips. And the list goes on. Being discredited makes it hard to get a job, a loan, a hotel room, or put kids in certain schools.
Okay, so hopefully the point is made on that with the China's social credit system, that if you have a low score, like it was explaining right there, you're not going to be able to do things. You're going to have a harder time in society. Whereas if you go along with the government, go along to get along, you're going to have a much easier time. And that's pretty much the same thing with the M.O.T.B. Those who take it going to have a little bit, or it seem like have a much easier life, whereas those who don't take it is going to be more difficult and things like that, right? And so that would explain the other two bubble points. What do the elites plan to use it for? Which is pretty much to have complete control over your life. That's why with the China's social credit system, they brought it out because they saw that they were losing the Chinese people faith. They were losing trust from the Chinese people, so they need to establish control over the people. Okay, if someone doesn't trust you anymore, you're losing control over them. So the government set up a system to where it's like, we need to get back control over the people. And basically, if you speak out against us, we know we have all these scandals, the food ain't good, this and that, but if you speak out against us, well, you're going to have a low score, and pretty much you're not going to be able to do things in society. But if you don't say anything against us, keep your mouth shut, you'll have a high score and you'll be able to do what you need to do in society, right? Your society will be a lot more easier for you. So that could be the same thing here in America, where that's what the elites are going to plan to use the M.O.T.B. for, which is to have complete control over your life, right? Because right now you have, again, a flood of information, which begins with the prophets bringing out this information, the understanding of the scriptures, exposing Esau, Edom, and his plans. That I lost my train of thought. That exposing them, showing how these you can't trust the American government and things like that. So that is also the sentiment of the American people. So now with this M.O.T.B., this small device that's going to be put within your body, they can also use that as an incentive, saying, once you take that, it's like, hey, if you speak out against us, we're going to shut off your device. You're not going to be able to get that food. You're not going to be able to get anything. You're not going to be able to function in society without that. So if you speak out against us, and there'll be examples used, some people might try to, as you say, get smart. It's like, oh, you want to get smart? All right, we're going to shut off your device. We're going to use you as an example, seeing as how people thought we was playing. You think this is a game? Okay, your device is shut off. You or your family ain't eating nothing. And that'll put fear in other people, saying, oh, no, screw it. I ain't going to speak out. I ain't going to say nothing. That's fine. You got it. Right? And again, the second bullet point, which would be, how will it affect / control your life? Going into the control aspect, basically like with the China's social credit system, you're seeing how it's controlling people. People are like, yeah, I think it's good, and it's beneficial to the society. But really, it was all about control, because China was being found out to be bullshitters, and so they needed to control back to people. So it's like, instead of having you guys speak out against us and all this, we're going to control you. Hey, you speak out against us, life is going to be very difficult for you. And for those who don't take it, the effect is going to make it very difficult for you to function in society. That's why we're leaning upon Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai, so that way we can be fed, right? We're keeping the word of the Lord's patience, so that way we can be fed in those times, because that is our provider, that is our protector in the times to come. Esau, Edom is not our father. Esau, Edom, we did not make a covenant with Esau, Edom, or anything like that. We made a covenant with our with the Heavenly Father to serve and to serve Him, right? As is written of in let me get that, Isaiah 65. This is what's going to be for those who keep the word of the Lord's patience. Isaiah 65. Is it? Sorry. Oh boy, why am I forgetting this one? Okay, it's 65, Salakia. So this is Isaiah chapter 65, verse 11. This is going to come to the elect, those who endure, those who keep the word of the Lord's patience. It says, verse 11, it says, but ye are they that forsake the Lord, that forget my holy mountain, that prepare a table for that troop. So for those who forsake the Lord, those who of our people that don't want to turn back to the Lord, right? That prepare a table for that troop, and that furnish drink offering unto that number. And if I believe a troop, when you go into that word, it's Gad, which could also go into a god of fortune, right? A Babylonian deity, which is basically looking to, you could say that's what, looking to Esau, Edom, and his fortunes, right? Verse 12, it says, therefore will I number you to the sword, and ye shall all bow down to the slaughter, because when I called, ye did not answer. When I spake, ye did not hear, right? So when the Lord had his prophets out there explaining things unto you, showing you the way of repentance, you didn't want to turn back. It did not profit you. You didn't see it as anything important. So what? But did evil before mine eyes, and did not choose that wherein I delighted. And did choose that wherein I delighted not. So you continue in the things that the Lord didn't delight in. Right? It says, therefore thus saith the Lord God, behold, my servants shall eat, but ye shall be hungry. So even though people are going to take this thing and things like that, that they're still going to be hungry. They're still going to be they're still not going to get food, because remember, Esau Edom is a liar. Just because he says with this device I'll feed you and things like that, now it's not saying that he's not going to do those things, right? Because remember, he needs to incentivize people to take it, so he's going to need to have, keep his word to some degree, at least, to have people look and say, hey, look, they're getting food with that device, so yeah, let's, they need incentives. So yeah, they will feed a couple of people, but really they could just turn their back and say, if you get any hard times, be like, man, look, just don't, I don't care. They don't really care about your problems or whatever. And whatever problems, look, they could just give you the workaround. Like, look, we'll get you the food eventually, right? And then you're waiting there weeks, days, or months. Weeks turn to months where you get no food, because again, there's no. Again, Esau Edom is a lie. He's not a man of his word, so he's not going to follow through on feeding you and things like that, right? Yes, some people will get fed. Don't think I'm being double-tongued saying that, hey, some people they're going to feed, but then they're not going to feed. Meaning, what I'm saying is that, look, for incentive reasons to get people to take the M.O.T.B, yes, they will feed people. They'll show that so they can get people to come in and take it. But let's say you have any problems, or say, hey, I tried this or that, or hey, I was supposed to get my food today or whatever, and it didn't come. They could just give you the workaround, say, look, it'll come, and it'll never come. But going back to verse 13, it says, therefore thus saith the Lord God, behold, my servants shall eat, but ye shall be hungry. So those who keep the word of the Lord's patience, they're going to eat. Even when it's going to be difficult to eat, the Lord is going to make a way for them to eat. Behold, my servants shall drink, but ye shall be thirsty, right? Behold, my servants shall rejoice, but ye shall be ashamed, because people are going to be ashamed. Why? Because even though they took this device, thinking that it was going to save their life, it's going to be shown that it's not going to save their life, because people are going to be in difficult situations where they're not, even though they have this thing, they're still not going to be able to eat. And even if some of them have it, Revelation 16 goes into that noisome and grievous sore, right? So they're going to have, if I'm not mistaken, a cancer or an ulcer inside of your body that is eventually going to kill you. So what was the point of taking it? That's going to lead to the shame or being ashamed. Verse 14, behold, my servants shall sing for joy of heart, but ye shall cry for sorrow of heart, and shall howl for vexation of spirit. So even though people are going to take this device, it is still going to lead to hard times, because trusting in Esau Edom, if I'm not mistaken, there's a precept that says you trust in trusting in Egypt is like laying your hand upon a prick that's gonna pretty much prick your own hand. Roughly paraphrasing that, I believe that goes into with Hezekiah. I believe the dude's name was Rabshakeh, that came against Hezekiah the king and Israel in that time, the Assyrians, and basically said, "You trust in the shadow of Egypt, that if you were to lean upon it, it will prick your hand, basically stab through your hand." So that's pretty much what trusting in America is going to do for people. You're going to trust in it, you're going to lean upon it, but it's going to prick you, it's going to stab you in your hand, right? So going back to verse 14, it says, Behold, my servant shall sing for joy of heart, but ye shall cry for sorrow of heart, and shall howl for vexation of spirit. Right? The elect are going to sing for joy of heart because the Lord is saving them. He's redeeming them in the time of famine. Right? Matter of fact, that reminds me of another precept, Job, if I'm not mistaken. Yep. This is Job chapter 5, verse 19. It says, He shall deliver thee in 6 troubles. Yea, in 7 shall no evil touch thee. In famine he shall redeem thee from death, and in war from the power of the sword. So when there's a famine, which is a lack of food, right, and you're not having access to the food like that, well, he's going to save you. He's going to redeem you from death, meaning that the Lord is not going to allow you to die in the time of famine. He's going to feed you, like I read in the previous chapter, or in the previous chapter and book in Isaiah 65. Right, the Lord is going to make a way for you to get food. Verse 21, Thou shalt be hid from the scourge of the tongue, neither shalt thou be afraid of destruction when it cometh. At destruction and famine thou shalt laugh, right? Neither shalt thou be afraid of the beasts of the earth, right? Because you also got to remember that wild animals are also going to be roaming around the streets. So and it said what? At destruction and famine thou shalt laugh. So the Lord is going to put you in a good state to where you're not going to worry that the elect are going to laugh at destruction and famine. But here it is, people are going to be worrying about famine. Oh, I got to eat and this and that. But the elect will not have to worry about that. Why? Because they have kept the word of the Lord's patience. Therefore, he will keep them, which that word keep goes back to the Hebrew word shamar, which means to watch or guard or keep guard over. Right? Verse 23, For thou shalt be in league with the stones of the field, and the beasts of the field shall be at peace with thee. And thou shalt know that thy tabernacle shall be in peace, and thou shalt visit thy habitation and shall not sin. So you're going to be in peace. The elect will be in peace because they have kept the word of the Lord's patience. Therefore, the Lord will keep them in the hour of temptation. He's going to watch them. He's going to have a guard over them in the time of hour of temptation. And that's what we do this work for, to be, Lord's willing, be a part of that number. Hopefully, Lord's willing. So that way we don't have to worry about these things, right? If for some of you brothers that have a wife and children, you don't want to see your wife and children starve as well. So you're serving also the Lord, in hopes that they can be joined unto you so that they don't have to, starve or anything like that. But going back to, just going to end off this lesson, basically going back into the points, just want to just summarize it. Basically going into the M.O.T.B, as I explained, is something physical. Charagma are physical actions or physical things. To cut into the flesh of something, to cut into somebody's flesh, you need to what? You need a sharp object. And if you're going to cut into something, that's an action, doing something. So therefore, the M.O.T.B cannot be a spiritual thing. It is a physical thing. It is a physical device, right? Hence also going in the right hand or in the forehead. And it's going to leave a device. A device is going to be left in there, which is going to have all your information in there. So that way you'll be able to function in society. You'll be able to buy and sell. And going back to which these 2 points can go together. What do the elites plan to use it for? They plan to use it so where they can have complete control over you. I didn't mention this, but I'll mention this now. They also have certain things which you can look this up. I don't want this to go into an hour and a half or whatever, but which it probably did, but I don't want to make it 2 hours. But also you can look up the Malthusian theory from Thomas Robert Malthus, if I'm not mistaken, if I'm saying his name correctly. That goes into the Malthusian theory, which really goes back to the Club of Rome, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not sure which one comes first, either the Club of Rome or the Malthusian theory, but that goes back into how Esau, these Edomites were saying that how eventually at a certain point in time that humanity is there's going to be too much humans on the earth, and the earth is not going to be able to produce enough food. So therefore, seeing as how there's too many people and the earth is not able to produce enough food, we need to, hence the limits to growth, we need to cut down the supply on how much people eat, how much people intake, right? And that's the same talking points that Klaus Schwab, The WEF and all those members, they talk about what? Your carbon footprint, carbon emission. They want to have control over your life, right? And through that M.O.T.B, that is how they're going to be able to have control of your life. Because they're going to say, for the sake of climate change, right? That's another talking point that they use, right? There's too many people, there's too much people, the way people's diets are and things like that. We need to cut down on what you eat and things like that to save the planet. So therefore, we're going to ration a certain portion of food to you. Hence, using the term, you will have nothing, but you will be happy, right? So pretty much, even though you're going to get along with this, go along to get along with the government, you're still going to have nothing, even though they're promising you and saying that, hey, this is better for you. This solution is much better for you, but everything points to you having nothing at all. That leads to going back to Isaiah 65, going back to that shame, right? And sorrow of heart, because you trusted upon Egypt, but yet Egypt is going to fail you. Egypt is not going to back you up. Egypt is going to prick you in the hand. So going back to the point, what do the elites plan to use it for? They are planning to use it for complete control over you, to have complete knowledge and know your whereabouts, know what you're thinking, and if you speak out against them, they can control you, right? That leads into how will it affect and control your life? How will it control your life? Well, using the example of the China's social credit system, hey, if you speak out against the government over there, they'll lower your score. So using that with the M.O.T.B over here in America, and it don't just have to be America, it could be anywhere, but America is the main focus. That what, if you speak out against the government, if you say something or anything, or if you do anything that they don't like, hey, we're gonna, you're not gonna get your next ration of food, or, you're not gonna be fed for this week. Well, how am I gonna feed my family? We don't know, sir. And if you do anything that they don't like, it's, oh, well, you went out of you were out of place, you try to do something to get food, that's another week added on that you can't eat. So see how it's having complete control over your life, and that's what they plan to use it for. And how will it affect? That's how it also leading how it'll affect your life as well. So, Lord's willing, this video is edifying. I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Racha, Kudash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Peace and blessings to the hopeful elect. Shalom.